I just want to welcome everybody to the class tonight. We're doing romantic oils from around the world, while we also are going to be distilling from my garden, lavender, and a combination of other herbs that I picked at the end of the summer. And we're going to have a whole bunch of fun. Thank you guys for joining me tonight.
Where are we?
We're at Meadowsweet Herbs.
Glad to be here.
What do you think of when I say romantic oils?
Rose.
And when you smell a romantic oil, what's happening is it's going right into your brain, basically, and because the smell, and it's stimulating your brain. And the romantic oils stimulate your brain and kick off endorphins. It's what you get when you exercise or when you are in love. So that's why they're called romantic oils. So memory is part of your romantic memory. So I'm in Hawaii with my husband, and we're having a romantic evening in the garden, having dinner and wine, and the ginger behind me is blooming. And I have that memory attached to that scent. Our sense of smell is like one of the strongest scents, and when it's connected to a memory. I worked 20 years in a psychiatric hospital, and I used aromatherapy to help the kids. And you can reprogram memories through smell.
Wow.
Or you can evoke those romantic feelings, or so. Let me show you guys how to smell an oil,
Yeah.
rather than getting too much of it. If you just put a dot. So, and what you want to do is you put a dot on there, and then you don't get it too close. Just slowly let it waft up, so that you're not. Yeah. So hold the little sampler out there, and I'll give you guys each a little drop. You may notice this as you smell the oils, that it's called a top note, a middle note, and a base note. And that's your base note. It's a deeper, and sometimes you have to wait for it. A base note is not the first scent off, that's your top note. Some oils will have all three, which usually makes them a really pleasant oil, and a lot of the perfumers look for that, to have all three notes. I do a lot of distillations. I have some little bottles of different hydrosols. A hydrosol is what's going to come off the distillation, and if you can look at this and you can see this is lemon verbena, and on the top there's a layer of oil, and that's what you get. You get this whole jar of hydrosol. You get that little teeny bit of oil. And it takes, I don't know how many thousand pounds to give you 1 ounce of rose oil. That's why rose oil is more expensive than gold right now. You fill up your bucket, and I call everything a bucket, so you fill this base up. It's got a little spacer in there that's probably about this high. And so I will fill that up with my dried lavender and my mystery plant. I love the smell of the lavender on my hands. So just for a little, these are, it's a lemon geranium. It's like a citronella. So I'm just gonna break off a sprig, put that in there. Usually I use those when they're flowering. That's when they'll have the most oil. But since it's the middle of winter and 20 below, we're just gonna. So then I just stuff it as full as I can, and then on goes my top. This is the tricky part. So now I turn it on, get the water boiling. And usually I'll seal all my seams. I'm not being real careful tonight, just because to get the process moving. And it's kind of cool because the seams leak a little bit of steam. It smells lovely. So we'll kind of infuse the room. This is just a cooling chamber. And so I'm putting water in it. And what's gonna happen is, and there's a coil, and as we get it moving, you guys can take a peek. So you have to keep this cool. Goes into a coil that goes through, cools off, and then the fluid is gonna come out of this little spout here. So we're gonna take our little jar, and we're just gonna forget about it for a little while. So as this heats up, you'll watch this, and as it gets closer to 80 or 90, we'll see our first whiff of steam come off, and that usually takes me half an hour to get to that first drop or whiff of steam coming out. So, and then eventually, I'll look over and I'll go, oh, the bottle's filled up. The other thing I should mention, and the reason I have my thing of vodka here, is that I clean everything with the vodka to make sure there's no contaminants. So all the bottles I'm going to be using, the inside of the still, this whole piping, I'll pour a little bit of vodka through it just to clean it. And then anything else like the funnels, we clean them off with the vodka. It's just a nice, quick, easy way to make sure you're sterile. So if you're processing, if I had a giant still the size of this room, what's going to happen is you're going to have a special, it's a tube, it's a coil, and what it does is it pulls the oil off the top. So it dumps it into this bulb, and then the top part has the oil come off. I don't, because my still is so small and the amount of oil I get is so minimal, I just take a pipette and pipette off the top. So this is the hydrosol we just distilled, and you can see we actually got quite a bit of oil. That's probably the most oil I've ever got off of